Hi, I'm Gabe.
I'm Kelley.
I'm Jaime. We had another fun, exciting week, not at the Ohio State House this week.
I mean, it was
Right.
sort of fun.
It was kind of fun. We totally messed with the security. That was the fun part.
Thanks for being polite or not saying anything.
No, I really appreciated actually that they were so ready for you to do it, and then you didn't give them the satisfaction of it. It was actually one of the most satisfying things that ever happened.
I mean, I've gone almost 6 months without being arrested. I'm kind of disappointed.
So anyway, to backtrack, so this week the Ohio Senate had one hearing.
Yes.
Pushed it through with one hearing. So they did sponsor testimony, proponent testimony, and opponent testimony all in one hearing.
On the Down syndrome abortion ban.
On the House version of the Down syndrome ban.
House Bill 214.
Yes. So the sponsors went, then of course like Ohio Right to Life and a bunch of their people went, and then we had Gary Daniels from the ACLU, and then Alana Bell from New Voices Cleveland came down, which was really exciting. It was her first time to actually testify in person. So she was fabulous and wonderful. So it was great to have her there. And then, of course, I testified against the bill. And they were so just totally checked out and not really caring that nobody asked any questions. And they just passed it without.
Right.
I mean, this is like their 8th time hearing it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the state legislature's been doing this one and done hearings because many of these abortion restrictions have already passed through chambers previously. And so the statement to NBC from one of the House committee chairmen last week was, I don't think testimony is changing anybody's minds. I mean, the legislators are admitting that they're no longer listening to witnesses, Ohioans who come forward to testify really on either side of this legislation, which is really a terrible spot for the democratic process.
Yeah, it really is.
Continue.
So one and done hearing, and then they passed it out Tuesday afternoon, and then it immediately got scheduled for the floor of the Senate that next day on Wednesday. So what was interesting was that the House has already passed the Senate bill out of committee, so it was sitting there waiting to go to the floor of the House when the Senate started moving their bill. So at first we're like, are they going to pass both these bills?
Isn't that one the less vague one as well?
No, they're completely identical word for word.
Oh,
last year's version was a little less vague.
Okay.
So one of those situations that we maybe were anticipating was there could have been simultaneous House and Senate votes on matching abortion restrictions, separate bills, which both could have gone to Kasich's desk. And he would have either chosen one, vetoed both,
or signed both.
Yeah.
But that's not happening.
The level of absurd.
Yes. Yeah. Completely and totally absurd. So for some reason, the House decided not to pass theirs, and that was why the Senate shoved theirs through at the last minute. So it went to the floor of the House, and we had fabulous volunteers that Kelley organized along with Stephanie Sherwood doing fabulous arts and crafts again for us.
Yeah, I didn't get to participate in the arts and crafts, but they looked really good. Stephanie got I let Stephanie pick the t-shirts, so she got the cut she wanted. So they're like much nicer than what I would have picked.
I know she did pick much like softer and nicer t-shirts than I would have just gone in and gotten the cheapest.
Yeah, they had
like, crappy one.
Yeah. So like actually flattering cuts on all of us, which was nice. And we spelled out "Stop the Bans" in our black t-shirts with a white font, and it was really fun because like we walked in and everyone like was already on edge, and like I'm just sitting there like crocheting a sock, and they're just like, oh, clearly these women in coats, very scary people, they're gonna do something bad. Because I mean, last time we were dressed up and we did shout shame, shame, shame. So I guess I could see like the concern, but like we didn't actually end up doing that. We just stood up and with our t-shirts when the floor vote came and spelled out "Stop the Bans," and some legislators didn't even turn their backs to look at us, and some looked us in the eye and yelled yes. So
yeah, it was funny. I'm sitting in the gallery on the other side, directly across from you guys, and 2 random people were just sitting next to me. I don't know what bill they were there for, and the woman who was sitting next to me when you guys stood up at the end was like, yes, that's awesome.
Yes, that's great.
So no idea who she was, what she was there for, but she very much appreciated the visual of it. And so did the reporters, because you guys all ended up on the Washington Post.
I think NPR said we did civil disobedience.
That was the least civilly disobedient you've been, which is, I think, hilarious. So it's funny.
Yeah, I guess so.
We really didn't break any. I mean, standing, they don't necessarily like, but I don't know that there's a rule against it.
Maybe there will be soon.
It probably will be soon if there's not one already.
It's the most civilly disobedient.
Yeah,
so.
I was like, I feel like we were pretty tame compared to past actions.
Yeah, well, I was thinking there was like very little disobedient part of it was where I was coming from more.
Oh,
than
we
the
were very civil.
part. Yes.
Right. So the Senate passed House Bill 214. It was pretty quick proceedings. There was only one speech in support and in opposition to the bill. David Burke, Senator Burke, who was the chairman of the committee that heard it, spoke really shortly. Frank LaRose, who's the sponsor of the other version of the bill, didn't take the floor. I guess it's a little bit of a squabbling match between the House and the Senate over whose version gets to move forward.
I don't know. I mean, he's running for Secretary of State and he's trying to be all like, look at me, I'm Mr. like, let's restrict abortion. So it seems really weird to me that he didn't want to speak to his bill, but whatever.
Right.
So yeah, Senator Burke had to do it because he's the chair of the committee, and that's just how the process goes.
Right. On the other side, Senator Joe Schiavone of Youngstown did, I thought, a really good job of representing the Democratic caucus in their opposition to the legislation, explaining his reasons to not want to destroy women's access to safe and legal abortion care. All of the Democrats voted in opposition to the bill. They all voted no, along with 3 members of the Republican caucus who voted no. Matthew Dolan, I'm trying to remember them.
Stephanie Coonsey.
Yes.
Stephanie Coonsey and Gail Manning.
Yep.
Yeah. So they
2012 was the final vote count, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, 20 to 12. So they, several of them, have either this time around or the previous time, expressed, listen, I don't think this is the right way of going about this. Not necessarily a pro-choice vote, but just an acknowledgement that this bill is,
quite frankly, a common sense vote.
Yes.
yeah, a common sense no vote from Republicans who do not support abortion rights. But
frankly, this is an interesting shift. I mean, it's I can't tell you how many times Mike Ganadakis has creeped up behind me in a various room in the Ohio Senate. He's the president of Ohio Right to Life, and been like, look at this, it's bipartisan with whatever they're doing. And we've seen that shift. So, on in the Senate, every single Democrat voted no, which has been the trend since Cecil Thomas was elected. But he's from Cincinnati. He was actually endorsed by Ohio Right to Life and then unendorsed because he voted pro-choice instead of anti-choice on all of the bills. It was fabulous.
And if I'm right, he's made floor speeches supporting, supporting a pro-choice point of view. So
yeah, I mean, he's fully transitioned over, and to see Republicans also then coming over, and that the opposition is now bipartisan instead of the support for anti-abortion legislation being bipartisan is a really big switch that we've been seeing in the Ohio legislature.
I think that just kind of speaks to how absurd and crazy these bills have gotten, though, because if you're going so far to get the Republicans on the pro-choice side, then what are you doing? Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah, we did have one Democrat. I went back and looked after we were talking about it, Gabe. One Democrat did switch over in the House. I think it was Michael O'Brien switched over in the House and voted yes. So it was a bipartisan, but we had actually more Republicans switching to vote no in the House. So more switching on our side than the other side now. So
right.
So so that happened on Wednesday. So the protest was fabulous and wonderful. People got really great pictures of it. It looked really great. So thanks to Women Have Options and the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice and Planned Parenthood for helping out on that.
It would make a fabulous Christmas card.
It would. It really does look like a really fabulous Christmas card. We might have to do that. We might have to at least do an electronic version of it this year, because we did actually take a picture in front of the Christmas tree, because of course the entire state house is decorated for Christmas.
I think next year, since December is always crazy, we should just go in with the plan to make a Christmas card.
And we discovered too late that there's actually a menorah outside, so we could have actually also done a Hanukkah card.
Oh man, that would have been great.
I know. I discovered it after you all took the t-shirts off and were back in street clothes. It's darn it. But yeah, so that happened. And then, Kelley, you want to talk about what happened yesterday outside while we all freezed our toes and fingers off?
Yeah, Planned Parenthood had a really awesome action outside the State House when it was like 20 degrees, but it was sunny, so there's that.
You don't always get that in Ohio.
No. Where they had a visual action where they had 20 banners for every attack and restriction that Kasich has passed since he took office. So these banners were 6-ish feet, 8 feet. They were tall. They were taller than me. And about 3 to 5 feet wide. And they detailed every single restriction that has passed since 2011 and had like a nice little visual timeline. So it had like the bill name, the year it was passed, and like a brief description of what it did. And we had a bunch of speakers, including you and Rhiannon Childs from Planned Parenthood and Marion Clark from National Coalition.
Harris.
Marion Harris?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Marion Clark is from Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate when people have the same name. It's weird.
Kelley.
Not like there's a million of us. And it was really good. And I brought my winter protesting kit, which included tea and hot chocolate and the sign that said, "Get mad, raise hell, stay warm," because I'm a mom.
Yes.
And it was good. And then Created Equal had her like cool little truck just driving around following us.
That happens. You missed one speaker, Ted Strickland.
Oh yeah, that's right. Ted Strickland, former Governor Ted Strickland was there.
Yes.
Just supporting us and being a cool dude.
Yeah. If I have time to edit it together, I'll have video of Governor Strickland's remarks, and I asked him a couple questions afterwards. So he was very nice to take a few minutes and talk to us.
Showing what a good governor could be. It was really funny because like I had he just randomly shut up and we didn't know he was going to be there.
I don't think he was there like as like a press opportunity.
No,
I'm just gonna go do what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And it was awesome, but it was funny because part of my speech was, the women of Ohio deserve a governor who actually protects their rights, not takes them away. And it was just kind of really funny to have somebody who did actually protect our rights for 4 years.
Funny or just really sad?
Yeah, both. Let's do the laughing and crying. So that was fabulous. But yeah, so that one actually was aimed at Kasich to ask him to veto. So timeline wise, what we're looking at, it takes usually a couple of days for the bill to get up to Kasich's desk. So it'll probably go today or Monday. If it goes up Monday, they get 10 days, not including Sundays and holidays. So you wouldn't count Christmas Eve and Christmas because it's a Sunday and a Monday. But I think it takes us to like the 29th or 30th that he has. So basically between now and New Year's, he's got to decide whether once again he's going to screw over Ohio's women and cost the state possibly hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars.
Realistically speaking, I don't see him taking like the full allotment of time. I think he gets to his desk and he signs a thing. He probably doesn't put out any sort of, doesn't do like a press gaggle. They'll probably issue some sort of statement, blah, 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 I'm pro-life, blah, blah, blah.
Is he going to take his chill pill?
Probably not.
No sign of the chill pill on abortion.
I feel like he needs a chill pill. Nope, I've forgotten the word that I wanted to use here. What my point is, I want him to shut up his butt.
Suppository.
There we go. All I want for Christmas is my basic rights.
Nice. Yeah, for Kasich to say, let's take a chill pill on abortion, this is exactly the opposite. I don't, we're definitely going to do everything we can to call for a veto. And we absolutely encourage people. There's a link in the show notes. Contact the governor's office. Demand that he veto this.
Vetoes are neato.
He's the only thing he's ever vetoed before was the 6-week ban, and that's because he was using it as a distraction and a media cover.
Yeah,
I'm a moderate.
Right. This ends any sort of myth of the Kasich. Moderate.
You mean it wasn't the 20 or so restrictions he's already passed? It's this one?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, there is actually one other thing he could do, just process wise, because I'm that nerd geek. He could actually not sign it at all. So there is a complete, total wuss way out, which wouldn't be completely out of character for John Kasich.
Coward.
Exactly. So he could actually just let it sit on his desk for 10 days. And if it sits on his desk for that 10-day legal period, he has to do something and nothing happens, it does become law without his signature. So his inaction makes it law after 10 days.
Honestly, that kind of cowardice is just kind of reminds me of ProMedica. I'm trying to be neutral.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
but he said before this General Assembly that he would sign this.
Yeah, he's
when
in
this was
2015,
first introduced in the previous General Assembly, he said, "Yeah, I would sign that."
Yeah, as he was running actually for president
Right.
in 2015, it was a CNN interview where he said it. So as he was trying to say he's a moderate, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally sign that bill."
Right. He said he would sign the bill. He said he insists on exceptions for rape and incest.
There is none. There's actually not even a life exemption in this bill. If you have a fetus that has a positive test for possible Down syndrome and something happens to you and puts your life at risk, doctors are going to be in a really weird spot of knowing that you had that positive test, but knowing your life is endangered and going, am I going to go to jail for saving this woman's life? That's what this bill will do.
I don't think I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. I did not know that.
Yeah. So yeah, no life exemption, no health exemption, no rape and incest exemption. There are zero exemptions in this bill, which last year was okay because it said that the decision had to be in whole solely because of a Down syndrome diagnosis. But this year it says in whole or in part because of.
Well, last year it was okay because the bill didn't move.
Yeah, exactly. But now that there's that in part piece, what is in part?
Right.
Her complication could be because of a, compounding issue because of this genetic issue in the fetus.
comorbidity.
Yeah. So, very well could possibly be because of this possible diagnosis of Down syndrome that her health or her life is at risk now.
Right. So Kasich has said that he'd sign the bill. He said that there's dogs downstairs in case you're wondering why Kelley's making faces.
Are they okay?
They're fine. So he said that he would sign the bill. He said that he needs exceptions for rape and incest.
Mm-hmm.
This bill does not have those exceptions. He's never, insisted on them other than the 6-week ban.
This whole cop out.
He said that people should take a chill pill on abortion. He did absolutely nothing through the legislative process to slow the bill down. I mean, he speaks out of both sides of his mouth all the time, completely misrepresenting. Years before, he said that he was, just following the will of the legislature, the representatives of the people, in signing previous abortion restrictions. Then we found out that his office was writing those restrictions in past General Assembly sessions. So, complete dishonesty from the governor's office.
Yeah, 100%.
So I have absolutely no expectations that he's going to veto this. He's going to cowardly sign it into law.
Or not.
And make Ohio the next state like Indiana. It was interesting. LSC put together a memo on like how much legal lawsuits in other states have cost them. And for the last,
what is LSC?
The LSC is the Legislative Service Commission. They're the like lawyers who work in the basement of the state house and like write the bills and stuff. And so they actually said that on average since 2011, the state of Indiana has paid $400,000 a year to Indiana's ACLU chapter. I mean, I'm all for like giving money to the ACLU. Everyone should do it. They're a fabulous organization.
Not in that roundabout way.
Yeah, but maybe not with our tax dollars that could be doing something like, fixing maternal mortality and infant mortality or something like that. So,
Definitely
details.
pro that.
Right.
So yeah, so this is where we are on that. But that wasn't the only thing they did in the State House this week because it's December and it has to be nuts.
Right.
They did actually in the House pass the 6-week ban out of committee. So it still has to go to the full House, but the House Health Committee did pass out the 6-week ban, identical to last year's, just as unconstitutional. Actually, just as unconstitutional as Down syndrome ban because there's not like just a little bit unconstitutional. It's yes or no. So that passed out of the House Health Committee, and then the Senate, for some reason, decided to just up and do a second hearing on the Senate version of the fetal tissue disposal restriction bill, forcing women to bury or cremate fetal remains from abortion, which is totally not.
When was the last time we saw this bill?
The fetal tissue stuff?
Yeah, like how long have they been sleeping on this?
Since the beginning of session. So like I think the first hearings and things were in January and February, and it's just been sitting there since then.
Oh. Cool.
So it just randomly popped back up again.
Right.
So yeah, so the state house was busy this week. It wasn't quite the like Armageddon we thought might happen on Friday, but still bad for Ohio women because Kasich's going to sign the Down syndrome bill.
Yes.
So yay! But the only so let's end on a good note because I rarely do that. They're done.
They're done-ish.
Yeah, they'll be gone for a couple of weeks now. They'll come back in January and probably do lots of other ridiculous crap because this is the continuation of a Senate session year. So the bills don't die. They will still all be there in January. So all these, the method ban, the fetal tissue restrictions, all the 6-week ban, all those will still be sitting there in January. And I'm sure we'll be talking about them then.
Right.
But we get a couple of weeks.
Ho, ho, ho.
Happy Hanukkah.
Right. Yeah. So the 6-week ban, there's the expectation by bill sponsors that they're going to somehow have like all of the votes for everything they've ever wanted on that.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know. I mean, to talk about something that's not on the agenda, the 6-week ban sponsor woman who like ran the show and like organized it and introduced it the first time, Janet Folger Porter, just spent the last like month in Alabama for our favorite not Senate candidate down there. So she'll probably be coming back to Ohio, you know, all whipped up from losing horribly badly in that Senate race and supporting a pedophile.
Right.
And they didn't lose that badly.
They lost way worse than I thought they would. I thought they were going to win by like 5 or 6 points. So
yeah.
I have more faith in the people of Alabama.
I have zero faith in humanity. I've worked in politics for too long.
That's fine, as long as it doesn't just apply to people in Alabama.
Oh no, it so totally doesn't apply to people in Alabama. I would have expected similar results in a state like Ohio or any other state because people are just so in there. I'm a Republican. I can't do anything but vote for the Republican camp, which is what we saw with Trump in a lot of places. So
right, but this was, you know, Doug Jones winning in Alabama over the guy who Donald Trump was supporting. Is this really is like the first big victory, because we've had several others. The Osset guy in Georgia, you know, where progressives put on a decent fight in a race that they didn't think initially that they would win and came close. And there was a lot of discussion about, well, you know, we didn't win, but this is good momentum that we wouldn't normally have. And this is the first time we're having that good momentum actually did cross the line into a real victory.
It did take a pedophile who rode a horse to the polls.
Yes.
And there's badly rode a horse to the polls.
And there's plenty of people who like may not have like been outed as pedophile, like as a pedophile, but certainly hold the same values that Mr. Moore does.
Right. But we got to see many of them exposed as, you know, supporters of Roy Moore-ishness. And I think it has, you know, branded the Republican Party as, you know, clearly in support of things that are anti-Christian values. That you know, a lot of us have known for quite some time, but your average person on the street is like, holy cow, look at the Republicans. They're supporting a pedophile.
I mean, that really isn't that much of a surprise if you get really deep into evangelical culture, but that's not really a conversation for this podcast.
Well, and I think too, it's another, I mean, to go back to Kasich, it was really interesting because he actually the next day put out some statement about how, you know, thank you, the people of Alabama, really Black women and men of Alabama, not the people of in general, but for, you know, putting
more women than men in that
category. And yes, that's why they went first in my listing. But you know, he was like, thanks to the people of Alabama for putting country over party. And watching the responses to that statement on Facebook when he put it out, there are a shit ton of people in Ohio who believe the same shit that people sorry, you're gonna have to edit that out again.
Radio edit.
But really believe that those accusations were wrong and that, you know, the things that Roy Moore believed in, the racism, the homophobia, the transphobia, the anti-women stances, everything else that he had were stuff that should have put him in office. So he actually got pretty attacked from his own party on putting out that statement.
Right.
Which was hilarious.
I mean, and he did it after the election.
Yeah, I don't know that he said anything
You're
beforehand.
not applauding country over party if you
No.
do it after.
I mean, it's honestly just another media move to make him look like a moderate.
Yeah,
so whatever.
Exactly. It's all about making John Kasich look better.
I'm gonna make my 2020 goal just to be like no to Kasich. I don't care if you pretend. Anyone on my Facebook who's like, oh, he's a moderate, I wouldn't mind voting for him. I will fight you. I will meet you in the back alley and I will beat the crap out of you if you vote for Kasich.
Yes.
Okay.
Ask me how I really feel.
Speaking of non-back, I don't know how to transition to that. Let's talk about Toledo.
In Toledo.
Back alleys no more.
Right.
Back alleys #no more. There we go.
Nice.
Look. Yeah. So a very exciting thing in our office today, we got our Toledo yard signs in.
It looks so good.
Yay! We'll put a link in the show note. If you live in Toledo, these are only Toledo, so sorry for everybody else.
You live in Lucas County.
Yes.
In the area.
Yeah, Toledo and the inner ring suburbs, Holland, those kinds of places. And if you would like a yard sign, we'll have a link in the show notes to sign up for a yard sign.
If you live in Lima and want one, I would deliver it personally.
When we go up for Christmas. So anyway, so we have yard signs that are going to go up all over, especially around various decision makers who may be employed by or on the board of ProMedica Hospital, and really try to make sure that everyone in Toledo knows that ProMedica is the one thing standing in the way of access to safe and legal abortion in Toledo. So
yes.
The court rules against the clinic and ProMedica still says, no, I'm not going to sign a transfer agreement. It will be ProMedica's fault that that clinic closes.
Yes.
And, they keep saying, well, we want to stay neutral. Well, you know what? Sorry about your luck. John Kasich took the neutral option away from you. You either don't sign a transfer agreement and are against abortion access, or you sign a transfer agreement and you are supporting access to critical healthcare services like you say you do.
Right.
So there's not a third option there. There isn't a neutral. So, if you've got a problem with this, take it up with John Kasich, but sign the agreement so that the clinic can stay open.
Or your lobbyists.
Yes. You pay lobbyists. Maybe
neutrality just taken off the table through a process that they're involved in.
Maybe they should have spoken out against it.
Right. But so that's the past. The future is our canvas. Annie is leading a second canvas through neighborhoods of Toledo
tomorrow.
But it won't be the last.
No, we'll do them in the new year too.
So, Northwest Ohio volunteers desperately needed to help continue this fight. Link to sign up in the show notes.
Yes.
And then you're going to be
phone banking
active remotely.
Yes, because Toledo is not my territory, but I still want to support the people who live in Toledo. Jeez. So we're having a phone bank on Monday, and it will probably not be the last phone bank. It probably will be the last phone bank of the year, but there's a whole new year coming up soon.
Right.
And I have lots of fun things to do at my phone bank. Like I have phone bank bingo, and then I have a really satisfying clicky prize wheel.
Okay.
Yeah, which there's a video of in the Facebook event for the.
There is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Okay. Is it the one where you spun it and got spin again?
Yes.
Or did you do it again?
No, it's the one I got spin again.
So yes, the fabulous prize wheel, fabulous prizes.
It's a
tasty
holiday party
food.
too. Yeah.
Nice.
Come hang out, do some phone banking in Toledo.
Hang out with my baby.
Right. The last topic for discussion we've got here is Marcy Captor. What'd she say?
So let's just frame this. Marcy Captor is
harassment.
Yes. So Marcy Captor is a Democrat from the Toledo area. She is not a pro-choice Democrat.
Then what's the point?
Yeah, she has made progress over the years, but she's still not all the way there. And she put herself in a really bad spot this week and set herself backwards by talking about how it now has come out as she was talking about another member, not a staff person.
That's not any better.
It doesn't make it any better, but that was, I think, some reason people were trying to defend it doing this, but whatever. Talking about how this person had cleavage down to the floor, and I'm not quite sure how that works anatomically.
My boobs don't go to the floor.
No,
not yet.
But and that was why harassment happens. That women need to dress more moderately so that men stop harassing them.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like you don't want to be reelected.
Yeah, that's a terrible a terrible take on the entire sexual harassment, which is unfortunately is not new.
No.
But to get that line from a woman Democrat in Congress, a dino, that's just wrong.
Yeah. I mean, you should be able, and a woman should be able to walk down the street naked and not assume she's going to be assaulted. Just because she doesn't have clothes on doesn't mean that you have, the right to go up and assault her.
If I see somebody walking down the street naked, I'm just going to be bewildered, but I'm not I feel like I need to beat this person up.
Yes. So
I'll just be like, oh, that's not something you see every day.
No. So the fact that, men can't control themselves when they see women's body is not the woman's problem. Like, dude, what's your problem?
Right.
Kind of goes back to the Mike Pence conversation we had a long time ago when we were talking about how he doesn't hang out with women who aren't his wife because he can't control himself.
Mother.
Right. So that was what Marcy Kapner said this week.
Yeah. And I think that there's room for different views on like dress codes and, dressing appropriately, but there's a huge line between having views on how people dress as being appropriate and is that an invitation for, harassment. That's turning that conversation into they're inviting harassment is where you just cross the line from, okay, you have an opinion to no, you're wrong about this.
Yes.
And she just strolled into their full force.
I do think the concept of dress codes is very weird. Like, I understand that you should not be wearing a club dress to the State House, but I don't understand how we got to that in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get it on. What you got coming up for people to attend?
This Sunday we have Crafternoon 3 to 5 at Holy Craft in Clintonville.
Family friendly.
Yeah, bring your children and make crafts. I'm going to be bringing air dry clay and attempting to have my baby not crumple into a ball and make ornaments for his grandparents for Christmas.
Nice.
And then I've got a bunch of yarn that I'm making socks. So if people want to come bring some yarn and or other crafting supplies and hang out with a bunch of pro-choice people while I convince you to come to my phone bank the next day, it'll be fun.
So it's excuse me, it's at Holy Craft.
Yep.
Is it all just yarny stuff, or is there like a set? This is the craft we are doing.
Oh, I mean, there is no structured craft as of now, and I don't think air dry clay counts as yarn.
So bring your stuff and come have fun.
Just whatever you want to bring. Like if you're a cross stitcher, if you're a knitter, if you're a crocheter, if you just happen to want to carry around several pounds of air dry clay like me, then by all means.
Right.
We have tables. There's a cat that lives in this shop. His name is Chunky the Craft Cat.
Chunky the Craft Cat.
Yes.
Wow.
So
that's fun.
Okay.
He's a quality cat.
And if people don't have like a craft to do sitting around their house, Holy Craft, I assume, will be able to.
Oh yeah, they have like a bunch of stuff in like their little like nook of supplies. Like there's just an absurd amount of craft supplies there. So if you don't have anything, for some reason, you could probably find something to do. And even if you don't want to craft, just come hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the craft.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it'll be open too, so you can even do some of your holiday shopping.
Yeah, come buy things.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then Monday we've got our holiday phone bank, which we already talked a little bit more about.
Yes. Information for all the events in the show notes.
Yep.
So.
Cool.
Okay. So, we'll be back in the office next week with a pre-holiday podcast. And then
Jingle bells.
We'll try to not be here.
I want rights.
I want rights. I want rights. I want rights all the time.
Well, maybe we'll do a whole episode of turning Christmas carols into protest songs. That sounds like fun, Gabe.
Nice.
We can carol outside the governor's mansion again.
See everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.